Hi, this is Lori from GLP-1 Journey in Review. Today we're doing a video in my interview series where we talk to people about their weight loss journey. Today we have with us Keely, who is also a content creator. Her channel will be linked down below in the description. I want to remind everybody that I am not a healthcare provider. My guest is not a healthcare provider. We're talking about what works for us. It is not intended for medical advice. If you are planning a weight loss journey, I strongly advise that you do see your healthcare provider. So, Keely, will you tell us a little something about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Keely, obviously, and I'm 38 and I live in the UK. And I started using Mounjaro on the 8th of May of this year after effectively struggling with weight loss my whole life. Even before I gained weight, which I did at 13, I had an issue with food prior to that. And so it's really governed my whole life. Just to advise, I'm currently in my car because there's a really important soccer game happening, football game, and so you won't hear me in the house because it's a heightened environment in there.
So you're in the UK, correct?
I am, yeah.
Okay, so the prices go up tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, so there's still, I mean, to be fair, what I've seen, some companies are not going to put the prices up until October. Other companies are
That's good.
quite reasonable in their pricing, but I think generally it's going to go up around £100 each dose. So I guess still in comparison to the prices that you guys were having to pay, it's still reasonable.
That's great because 2 weeks notice to me was absurd. But now let's talk about your
Yeah.
journey. So, what made you decide to use GLP-1 medication?
I've tried absolutely everything else, and I have been in a cycle for probably over 2 decades of really disordered weight loss and then weight gain. And I've tried every diet and plan that there was to try. And for me, the next step forward was weight loss surgery. That's what I was really, really seriously
Hmm.
considering. And I'd spoken to my doctor about weight loss surgery, and the reality is I wouldn't have been able to get it on the NHS. So I was considering the private route for weight loss surgery. The only barrier that I had really was the cost. You can go abroad and get it places that are a lot cheaper, but that comes with the risks that it comes with. And so I think
Right.
I was the places I'd found in the UK, it was between £8,000 and £12,000, which is obviously a huge amount of money. I also know people that have had weight loss surgery and it hasn't actually been a long-term solution. They've then put the weight back on further down the line. So for me, that's where I was at. And I had I probably, like most of us, I heard about weight loss jabs through Ozempic, through celebrities who were suddenly all sort of
Hmm.
shrinking. And I didn't really think it was that accessible. I didn't really think that much more of it. And then somebody quite close to me, they told me they'd been using Mounjaro. And I spent about 7 months doing the online assessments, getting to the point of having that, putting it in my shopping trolley online, and then chickening out because I didn't really understand what it was and I was scared. So that I then went and spoke to my GP this year, and they referred me for what we call tier 3 weight loss intervention, which would have been the the injection. And I thought, if my GP's feeling that they can recommend me for it, I'm just going to do it myself privately. Yeah.
What kind of diets did you try in the past?
Mostly diets that, I mean, I tried calorie deficit diets, starving
Mhm.
myself. When I was quite a lot younger, I suffered with an eating disorder. Um, I'm not saying that's a diet, but that's sort of where I got to. I then tried lots of weight loss plans where they avoid saying that they're calorie counting. So Weight Watchers, obviously they do points.
Hmm.
In the UK, we've got something called Slimming World, which
Right.
they don't count calories. They talk about free food, but some food are sinned. So it's not sin as in the sin that we typically think of, but I think it's a shortened version of synergy points. So you would count those, but they call everything free food. So unless it's sinned, it's all free. Really, that it's calorie counting. All these things are, of course. Soup diets, meal replacement diets, intermittent fasting, everything you could probably think of at some point. I've tried water diets, solely just eating. When I was about 20, no, maybe younger, I did a diet that apparently Victoria Beckham was doing where she just ate berries. I tried that for about 3 days. Anything that came across my way, I gave it a try at some point.
Well, when you mentioned that you had an eating disorder, you're not talking about like anorexia or bulimia. Is it just like binge
Yeah,
eating or that type of thing?
so when I was a lot younger, I did suffer with bulimia. Throughout my teenage years and into my early 20s, I did suffer with bulimia. And I would, binge, and then I would purge. I haven't had that
Hmm.
for many years. I think when I fell pregnant with my oldest child, when I was in my early 20s, that sort of stopped that cycle. There have been times that I've come really close to that again, where I've been so desperate in my weight loss journey that I've come very close to that. And I've definitely had the thoughts of, I'll use that to just get me where I need to get to, and then I'll do a really
Hmm.
healthy lifestyle. But I haven't, thankfully, gone back to that place, because that was a really dark time for me.
Yes. And they didn't find any red flags in that when they prescribed you the medication, or did they just not know
So they
about it?
did they did ask. Well, they did ask, and initially I contemplated not saying, because I was scared that I wouldn't
Hmm.
get approved. And then I thought,
Right.
actually, no, because I want this to be, I suppose it isn't just about weight loss, it's about a healthier lifestyle and
Hmm.
being healthier mentally and physically. And so I made the choice to put that, and they asked further questions about it. They asked how long ago was it something my doctor was aware of, which my doctor was. And so I was just really honest about it, and I made it very clear it's not an issue that I've had in nearly 2 decades now. But that's I have been at that point before.
So, how much weight have you lost on since you started the Mounjaro?
So since I started Mounjaro, I've lost 63 pounds. So in 16 weeks, I've lost 63 pounds.
Wow, that's great. That's fantastic. Are you
Absolutely.
practicing a healthier lifestyle or just in a
Yeah.
calorie deficit?
So I do try and stay in a calorie deficit. So I'm aware that my BMR is about, if I was just lying in bed all day, it's about 1600. If I'm really active, it's much higher than that. So I track my activity on my smartwatch, my Apple Watch.
Hmm.
I try and stay in about a 400 calorie deficit each day. But I'm finding that the more weight that I lose and the more I continue on this journey, I'm becoming less obsessed with that. So before, I would always be acutely aware of all of the figures, like they dominated my whole day. And now I'm just having an awareness of what I'm eating and an awareness of how active I'm being. But I'm definitely making much better food choices, because I want to be healthy. And I think for
Hmm.
me, what Manjaro has done is it's turned off that food voice, but it's also
Hmm.
decreased my appetite. And so I can afford to be more focused. I'm not as desperate as I was, so I'm more conscious of what I'm putting in my body. So I'm not, feeling as hungry, I guess, probably because I'm giving my body what it needs, which for me is a completely new territory. I've never had that before.
Now you say, do you track your food?
I do. So when I first started, I was tracking it a lot more precisely than I am now. The reality is I've dieted for so long that I've got a really good idea of what calorie wise is in most of the foods that I eat anyway. Not down to like the calorie, but within a
Right.
ballpark. So I do track, and because I'm not hungry, because my suppression, even though there's times that it's hit and miss, generally I'm not hungry. So I'm making myself eat little and often. And most of those foods I've got tracked in like the apps on my phone, so my Fitness Pal or something like that. So I just, yeah, keep a general track of that. I'm not logging everything I eat. There'll be days when I do and there's days when I don't, but that's how I'm managing that.
That's great. Do you exercise along with that?
Yeah, so I've always been really active. So when I was younger, I played tennis quite a lot, and I used to run for school, and I was really, really involved in that and really good at it. So being active has always been really important to me, and I don't always enjoy the thought of having to go to the gym or doing a run, but I never regret having done it. So I try to go to the gym 3 times a week, partly as well because I pay for a membership. So there's been so many years I've just given the gyms my money and never gone. So I do that, and I try to do something in the UK we have called Park Run, which is a 5K run, and I try to do that twice a month. So I'm making myself do those things on top of doing quite a lot of steps per day. So yeah, being active, I always feel so much better, like in my mind more than anything. And I'm definitely seeing that being consistent in that, just it's like a natural antidepressant. I just feel so much better
Hmm.
in myself, like I've achieved something by continuing that.
Does your whole household eat the way you do, or do they eat differently?
Um they probably do eat differently now. So I've got me, my other half, and then we've got 4 children, and they I've got so my eldest two are nearly 18 and nearly 17, and so they're pretty self-sufficient when it comes to food. They sort of cook what they want if they can be bothered, or they'll get what they want. My other half's a really good cook. He cooks really good healthy meals. I'm quite restricted with food, so I've always been somebody that struggles with textures of food and things. So naturally in the house I'm more restrictive than everybody else anyway. But I'm finding it's that old adage, when you've got children you're like, they must eat
Mhm.
healthily, and then actually behind the scenes I was eating massively unhealthily. So now it is more balanced in that I've sort of come more in line with everybody else.
What does a day in food look like for you?
So a typical day for me now is that I have to force myself to eat, really, because I just don't really have an appetite. So I never used to eat breakfast, and how it used to be for me is I would do all my eating at night. So I had sort of conditioned myself that I would go all day without food, and then I would get home from work or wherever I'd been, and it gets to about 7 o'clock or when the kids had all gone to bed, and then I would do all of my eating in sort of between that time and going to sleep. Now I get up in the morning, I have a form of breakfast, even if it's just a protein shake, and then I will have a snack, like either a protein bar or a piece of fruit, depending on what I've had for breakfast. I will try and have lunch, but if I'm in the office, I don't normally eat in the office. So if I know I'm going to be in the office, I'll have a breakfast like cereals or porridge or something, and then I'll just have a protein shake for lunch. If I'm at home, I try and have my main meal around lunchtime, and that could be anything from something I'm really enjoying at the moment, like steak, avocado, egg, and tomato. So I'll try and have that. And then I pretty much eat whatever I want dinner wise in the evening, because I know I won't eat a lot anyway. So
Mhm.
I can be relatively flexible with that because I know that I'm not overeating, which is brilliant because I don't feel like I'm depriving myself on any level.
That's great. So, what dosage are you on, and how quickly have you gotten to that dose?
So I'm on 7.5 milligrams now. Um, I started, as everyone does in here, in the UK, at 2.5 milligrams. I, after 4 weeks, went up to 5 milligrams because I thought that's what you had to do. No one
Hmm.
told me otherwise, and I just went by what it said on the website, the prescriber I was using. Then I sort of got more involved in watching videos of other people using Mounjaro, and I heard them saying, if it's working, stay on the same dose. And also, that was then later advice I was given by my prescriber. So I stayed on 5 milligrams for 8 weeks, and then up because I found the last 4 weeks of 5 milligrams wasn't as effective. So I'm now on the 7.5. I don't currently have any Manjaro because of everything that's happening. I've actually struggled to
Right.
be able to reorder it. So when I do manage to get it, I will remain on the 7.5 because I found it to be really effective.
Are you worried because you're forcing yourself to eat that maybe your dose is too high?
It's really strange because I was this the suppression for me on has always been hit and miss. So generally I'm not hungry, but then I have days of not extreme, that's the wrong word.
Hmm.
I have days where I am hungrier. Um and there seems to be no consistency to it. But what I did notice when I did the last 5 milligram pen is that I was hungrier most of the time. So the suppression wasn't as much. And then I went up to the 7.5 milligrams, and again the suppression's back where it was. So I don't know if it's just for me that the effect typically wears off quicker. So I don't know if I will get this next 7.5 pen and then I'll find that the suppression's not as much. Equally, depending on if I can't get 7.5 milligrams, I may go back down to 5 milligrams anyway, just to have that consistency. So I'm not taking it, and I'll see
Right.
how I am then. But I have found, yeah, it's strange. There doesn't seem to be a pattern to that suppression for me.
Hmm. Have you had any side effects at all?
Yeah, so the main side effects I have are really awful constipation. Just without over the counter medicine to deal with that, it could be weeks, which is awful. Headaches. I After I take my injection, I normally have a headache for a couple of days. I've also noticed that my anxiety level heightens when I first take the injection. And at first, I didn't think that it was anything to do with the Mounjaro, but actually, this late on in the journey, I've realised that the day that I take it and the day after, I feel really anxious, and I've seen online that other people do as well. And when I do the injection, I get a rash in the injection site, which could be just a bit mild allergic reaction to the actual Mounjaro. But so I've been relatively lucky with side effects. They haven't been awful for me.
That's great. Um, do you have a favorite injection site? Do you swap your injection sites?
So I haven't tried the back of my arm just because that looks quite difficult to inject in. So I have done the top of my thigh. I've only done that once, and then I'm just alternating in my stomach because I just find that to be, it works. And I guess there's part of me doesn't want to waste like part of the injection if I do it in my arm and it doesn't have the same effect. So I'm typically just sort of alternating on my stomach, and that seems to work quite well for me.
I hear you. I'm primarily a stomach injector. I
Yeah.
tried my leg once and it hurt. So I'm like, and I was seemed like I was extra hungry that week. So I'm like, well, this didn't seem to work out for me. So let me go back to my stomach.
Yeah, I'm a
So
creature of habit. If it works, I'm just going to stay with it.
absolutely. Uh, did you have any problems like cholesterol or high blood pressure along with the weight?
Not cholesterol. I did have, I mean, not consistently, but there had been times when I had high blood pressure, and they weren't really sure why. I mean, absolutely, my weight would have been a factor. And I think where I've lost extreme amounts of weight in a really short space of time, and
Hmm.
I've gained extreme amounts of weight in a short space of time. And I think that for me, my GP told me that not just the weight that I would go up to, really worried about the impact on my body of that yo-yo, but extreme yo-yo. So losing 5.5 stone in the space of like 5 months, but then equally gaining 6 stone in the space of 5 months. And
Hmm.
so that's the bit that worried about, just the impact that was having on my body. And so yes to the high blood pressure sometimes, but I've got polycystic ovary syndrome, which the symptoms
Hmm.
of that are extreme when I gain weight. Equally, in my last pregnancy, so my son is nearly 4, and in my last pregnancy I had gestational diabetes. And
Hmm.
in the 5 years after when you've had the baby and you've no longer got gestational diabetes, you're at a 50% increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes in the 5 years after. And so that was a huge concern for my doctor. It was a concern for me, but I think this is how I know that this was an addiction to food that I couldn't control. It was a concern for me, but it wasn't enough for me to be able to change the habits. And I gained following my son's birth, I gained 6 stone.
Mm.
So
So, I
even though I
mean,
knew
you
I was
you
at an increased risk.
you have lost weight pretty quickly on the Mounjaro. Have you seen anything like, hair thinning or anything like that? Or
No, so prior to using the Mounjaro, so last year, I lost nearly 4.5 stone, and so I began losing weight in August. By November, I'd lost 4 stone 6 pounds, which I'm not sure what that is in pounds or kilograms. And then between November and May of this year, I was fluctuating. I'd go up 21 pounds, I'd come back down 9 pounds, and I got to April and I was just gaining weight back. So I'd got down to about 16 stones. I'll never be 6 stone. 16 stone something. And then in April had gone back over 17. And then when I started using the Mounjaro, I was 17 stone 8. So I'd already lost some weight, but no, I haven't found hair thinning. Actually, my hair's healthier, my skin's healthier. My nails aren't my own, but the ones underneath are weak because of what I put on top of them. But I just feel all of those things are much healthier for me. So I've thankfully not had any of those things. But I suppose what I would say to that is I'm probably giving my body now more nutrition than it's ever had.
yeah, and the protein probably helps all of that too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So let's talk really quickly about your channel. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've watched YouTube for years, and actually, I've had times in my life of being really, really isolated and lonely, probably because of my own mental health. And I didn't have the greatest start to life. And I think when you have a really difficult upbringing, that for me anyway, I found that I naturally isolated away from people because there was such a trust issue with people there, just because of how my life started out. And um, I found a bit of a solace in YouTube. And so I've always and I like listening to people and real people and their journeys. And of course that's not everything that's
Mhm.
on YouTube. There's like the other side of YouTube,
Mhm.
which is the big YouTubers that have got the fancy videos, and I'm interested in that, some of that as well. But so I've always gravitated towards YouTube, and so when I was younger, I used to perform quite a lot. So I did theatre, and um that was something I was intent on being famous. I was going to move to America, marry Freddie Prince Jr. and become a star. Um,
Mhm.
none of that happened, clearly. But I'd always had that interest. And so I'd always wanted to do something on YouTube, but I just thought, right, well, you're not interested enough. You've got nothing to talk about. And then actually, when I was considering using Mounjaro or whatever the alternative was,
Mhm.
some of the videos and the people that I found on YouTube actually inspired me to in part make that choice. And I thought, actually, if I could be helpful to anybody in any way, because this has changed my life, like
Mhm.
it's not just been helpful, it's changed my life. And if there was any, one, I'd enjoy doing it, and it would give me a way of logging what I was doing and having a bit of a community around that. But equally, if it could be helpful to anyone else that maybe was in my position, then that's also something amazing to do. And when I talked about earlier, where I used to go to like Slimming World, because I was like a prolific
Mhm.
rejoiner. So I'd join Slimming World, lose a bit of weight, gain weight, stop going. But it's that community element of going to Slimming World, being with other people, experiencing the same thing that I was. And that was the appeal for me. So that's why I started YouTube. And yeah, it's been, I mean, first of all, everybody's been really lovely and really, really helpful. I did temporarily join Facebook, and then I got some really awful messages from people that I knew, that I thought
Mm.
were people that were my friends, saying that I shouldn't be promoting this. It was really unhealthy, and not, we're worried about you, or we're a bit worried because we've heard this and we know you're doing, like, not very nice messages. So I just came straight off of Facebook. But with YouTube, I found everybody to be really helpful and really lovely, and people have said that they found my videos helpful. So yeah, that's been amazing, because I think it's been about 5 weeks since I started it. So yeah,
That's great.
it's really lovely.
Yeah, I found the community is really great in the GLP-1 world. Very supportive,
Yeah.
always there. Um, and that, I mean, that's basically how I started and why I interview people so that people could pick up on other people's journeys and learn something from it, although every journey is different. Um,
Yeah.
and it's so I wanted to uh, quickly also ask you um, about. Sorry, I just kind of lost my train of thought here. Um,
Right.
what do you think that you're going to do or about the situation in the UK? Are they planning on getting more in stock after the first, or is this just a very temporary thing?
So, I mean, I think there are lots of different theories about what's happening at the moment. I think some people believe that companies are saying that they don't have it and then they're going to suddenly have it available with a higher price come September. I think that probably is a possibility. Um,
Hmm.
some companies have said that they're going to not actually put the prices up until October to give people an opportunity to adjust to it. Because as you said, it has been like a really quick, this is what's happening.
Hmm.
For me, the other thing that's happening is when I've tried to get it through different prescribers, they've automatically transferred me over to Wegovy, and it took me a long time to decide that I was going to use Mounjaro, and actually Wegovy doesn't seem to be as successful. I've heard the side effects are worse as well. So for me, I just want to remain on Mounjaro, and hopefully once once September 1st hits and that difficulty subsides, I guess after a month or so, I'm hoping that the stock is available again. So now I'm
Hmm.
finding that places are saying they've got 2.5 and 5 milligrams, but they don't have the higher doses. So I currently don't have any. And I'm just going to wait it out and see when I can next get the 7.5. I know it's going to be more expensive than it was. I've adjusted to that. I'm just going to see how I go with it. But if the option is that I can't use Manjaro, I'm just going to not see how I go with not using something and then maybe go for a lower
Hmm.
dose. But ideally, I'll just wait and then use another 7.5.
Uh, do you plan on being on this type of medication pretty much for life, or do you have a plan? Like once I reach my goal, I'm done.
I mean, the reality is there's not a huge amount of information around like the long term. I know people are doing it differently, and I think people are doing it differently because they found a way
Hmm.
that works for them, probably in an absence of information. So I've bought from two different prescribers, and they've got no real information about long term how to whether you need to come down a dose and find a maintenance dose or come off of it. So I think what I'm going to do if I do continue to use Manjaro is I will get to my target, which I don't really know what that is either. So I've had like this phantom idea
Hmm.
of a target of 13 stone for 2 decades. Well, I'm basically at that now, and I can still see that I've got weight on me to lose. So I will see how I go over the next few weeks or months or whatever it looks like until I get to a place where I feel like, right, I'm comfortable. And at that point, I think I probably will come down, because I'm also conscious, like if you're using any drug, should you just come off of it? If you're using any prescription medication long term, should you just automatically come off of it, or what are the long term like what are the side effects of that? So at the moment I feel like I'm going to get to target, slowly come down the dosage, and then see where I'm at then, with an idea of eventually coming off. I
Hmm.
would like eventually to come away from using a medication, one because it's a medication, and two because it's still expensive regardless of what dose you're on. So that's
Right.
at the moment where I'm thinking of going. But equally, what I'm doing is reading as much as I can at the minute about any research or other people's experiences of how they've managed it and what's been effective. Um, so it's a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. I guess it's not a straightforward answer to that, just because I haven't found that information.
Have you had any thoughts about orforglipron or retatrutide? One's coming out in about 6 months or so, and the other shortly after.
Sorry, you froze there. Say that again.
The orforglipron, which should be out in about 6 months, which is Eli Lilly's pill form. Have you had any thoughts about that? Because that's supposed to be cheaper and it's a daily pill.
So yeah, I've heard about the medication through some other YouTube channels, and if I'm honest, I've always struggled with tablets. I'm not very good at remembering to take them, and I think, I mean, obviously, if it comes out and people are having a lot of success, or it's a lot cheaper or easier, I'll look at that. But for me, I find doing an injection once a week is so much easier to maintain than,
Hmm.
and there have even been times I forgot to do the injection on the day that I normally do it. So I know with my history of taking tablets, I'm really likely to forget. And for me, just a weekly injection is so much easier than a daily tablet. But yeah, once it comes out and people start to share their
Hmm.
experience, I'll obviously look like, well, it be interested in that. But yeah, for me, I just find there's also something about the routine of using the quickie pen that I
Hmm.
find I quite like. So yeah, that works quite well for me.
Has food tasted the same since you've started the Mounjaro? Because I know with me, certain foods that I used to really like, just I don't like anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I should have said that. Side effects, actually. I didn't give that. But I've noticed that so foods that would have always tasted salty, that I maybe didn't realize tasted as salty, taste really salty to me now, to the point where I can't eat them because it's not pleasant to eat. Or
Hmm.
things that certain meats taste very metallic-y. Um and I can't eat those. Or things that I knew were sweet, but I could, because I have a sweet tooth, things that I knew were sweet
Hmm.
suddenly are so sweet that I can't eat them. And that has never been an issue for me. Like, I have always been able to eat really sweet things, to the point that other people will be like, how can you eat that? It's sickly. And now when I eat them, I actually can't eat them because they just don't taste nice. So yeah, I have noticed that, which is so strange.
Do you have a comfort food on the GLP-1 medication, and is it the same as it was before the medication?
So, I mean, to be honest, my eating before, pretty much anything qualified as comfort food. Even it sounds silly, but even things that people, so when I would eat, it was like a, even not, I'm not talking about having the eating disorder, but when I used to like
Mhm.
binge eat, which I would at night, I would like eat 8,000 calories in a go. If I only had bread in the house or cereal in the house, I would eat all the cereal, or I would eat a whole loaf of bread. I would just have toast after toast, or literally just bowl after bowl of cereal. So everything sort of became comfort food for me, really. Now I absolutely do gravitate towards things like natural yogurt with fruit and honey, and or something that I discovered recently that I really like. It's not overnight oats because I don't like they become a bit slushy and I don't
Mhm.
like the texture. But effectively, oats, porridge, honey, and some peanut butter. That is amazing, and it feels and it tastes amazing. So that is my ultimate comfort food at the moment. But yeah, before I would never have thought of eating that. That would have felt like I was being healthy and I would have gone to something like chocolate. But now I'm just not interested. If I want something comfort food, that would be what I go to, which is, it's mad because I've done this for so long that it just doesn't make sense to me that that's where my brain would go after all these years simply by using this. It's just, it's mad.
Are you
Good,
a
but mad.
daily weigher? Are you a daily weigher, a weekly weigher, monthly weigher, or
So all of these questions that you're asking me, I keep giving you like multiple answers, so I'm sorry, Laurie. But
that's okay. That's okay.
previously, when my whole life, I would weigh myself sometimes probably 8, 9, 10 times a day, literally be jumping on and off the scales at every opportunity. And initially, when I started Mounjaro, I was daily weighing twice a day, in the morning and in the evening.
Hmm.
And it was quite interesting because there is absolutely, our body fluctuates, and there's a comfort for me in knowing, yeah, my body's doing this today and tomorrow, oh, this is what it's doing. So there was that. If I'm honest, at the minute, I'm just not bothered by the scales, which again, is just not ever how I've been, really. Even when I've not been losing weight and I've just been gaining it, I used to stand on the scales multiple times a day. And this week I've stood on the scales once, and that was to log my weight, partly to do a video. The week before that, again, the same. And actually, I've been forgetting to do the scales. So I've just been putting them away, and normally they're out all the time. And I'm not actually that bothered. Like, I used to feel quite worried about standing on the scales because it'd be like, oh, what's it going to tell me today? And that would govern my whole day. And now I'm getting on them. And all right, I'm losing weight still, and I'm having really good results. So maybe that's part of it. And I've maybe become a bit complacent, but I've just not been that bothered. And that's like a freedom for me within itself, because
Mhm.
there would be days I would stand on the scales and it would say you've gone up 0.5 pound, and I would be absolutely devastated. It would ruin my whole day, and I'd feel angry with myself. Like, it made me walk in the world a different way. Like, it just governed my life. And suddenly to not actually be that bothered by what the scales say, or worried on any level about what the scales say, is like a form of freedom. I just can't explain it. So at the minute I'm basically weighing weekly, which, yeah, is pretty
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I was just reading a couple days ago of this new scale that basically doesn't have pounds. It just has like 5 colors of zones. And, for
Okay.
example, like 120 to 135 would be the red zone. Maybe like 135 to 150 could be the green zone, and just your color would show up. So you wouldn't know your exact weight. You would just know what zone you were in. So, apparently a lot of
Yeah.
people have this type of fear. So, you're not alone at that. They've even come up with a
Yeah, no, they
scale
sound quite
especially
amazing. I
for
might
that.
look into that. Yeah. Yeah.
It's I was just reading about it in an article earlier this week. So, you brought that up and it kind of like rang a bell in my brain. Oh yeah, I read about that. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
uh,
might look into that actually, because I probably would prefer those at the moment.
yeah, it's it's an idea because some people, the weight is kind of like food noise in their head. It's like the
Mhm.
scale noise, I guess you could call it. Huh?
Yeah.
So it kind of gets rid of
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
So kind of on a little bit of a time crush. So do you have um, anything that you would tell new users or people about to start? Any recommendations?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, always speak to, everybody's different. Speak to your prescriber and your doctor, and make sure that you know where you're starting out from, and if this is the right journey for you. Obviously, it isn't going to be for everybody, like anything. But what I would say is that this the the medication has changed my life. Somebody said the other day, oh, it sounds
Mhm.
like you're a drug addict. And actually, no, I was addicted to food, and I grew up in a household where, and in a family where addiction was rife, and I was undoubtedly addicted to food. And that food noise, even if I was being good, that food noise was there, and it was like, eat that thing, that chocolate's in the fridge, go and eat it, those crisps are in the cupboard, go and eat it. And for me, this medication has not only stopped that, it's changed my life. Like, the the years that I've been trapped inside being overweight has dominated everything. It changed everything about me. I had no self-esteem. I was miserable. No one would have known those things because I'd become good at masking it. But inside, I
Mhm.
felt trapped and I wasn't living to my full potential. And what I would say is, if you're able to do this and it's something, and you feel trapped, and you're healthy enough to do this and your doctor thinks you should, do the research. And for me, it's absolutely changed my life in every way, and I feel like the Keely I should have always been. And for me, it's just absolutely amazing. And I wish somebody had have said that to me years.
Mhm.
If this had been available years ago, I could have saved so much time. And if somebody had said to me a year ago, when I was thinking about this but was too scared, do these things and then go for it, it's going to change your life, I would have done it in a heartbeat. Because it absolutely has. And I know that I'm not alone. And, ask people on YouTube, because like you and so many other people
Mhm.
have got so much to give about it now, and it really could change your life. And for me it has, and it's not just changed my life, it's changed the life of my families. I'm a different parent than I was. I can do more. I'm a different partner than I was. I'm not restricted in things. So yeah, it's absolutely changed my life. And if you're thinking that you need it and you're healthy to do it, just go for it.
Anything you'd like to say or closing comments that we didn't talk about, or?
Just I guess just on the flip side to that, thank you to everybody on, you know, that's been really supportive, including you and other people, and given me advice on the
Mhm.
YouTube side of things, because I'm finding YouTube is a really good way for me to
Mhm.
remain motivated about other things as well. So yeah, I just feel in an amazing place at the moment, which is
Great.
really good. And yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, Keely, I want to thank you for your time. You've been very gracious to
Thank you,
give up
Laurie.
some of your weekend to be on my channel. I appreciate it. Um, and I guess that's a wrap.
Thank you so much, Laurie. Speak to you soon.